I'm also examining what's taken place over history. And it just seemed incredible to me that something that had gone apostate so early on could have affected the world in the way that it did. Because prior to Christ and prior to Christianity's spread, I think that the world would be almost unrecognizable to us today. And even I read a book called Dominion by the author and historian Tom Holland, who in the introduction to his book makes this point. He says that he was going to, he really wanted to write a historical piece on Rome and how Rome had shaped. Have you read this?
I haven't read it, but I know of it. Yeah.
Okay. So he says, as a historian, as somebody, he's English and has, I guess, a modern sort of outlook on Christianity as being, some kind of relic of the past and sort of silly. And so he grew up with a distant, strenuous relationship towards Christianity and dismissed it out of hand as being, just the religion of his grandparents. And so he, as a historian, was very interested in the Romans. And so he meant to set out and write this piece on Rome and how Rome had really created the modern Western world. And the more he was doing research and looking into it, he realized these Romans were really nothing like us at all. Like what they were engaging in, the assumptions that they had, their way of conducting themselves as a matter of course would be completely foreign to us today. Their bacchanalia and their orders and their edicts and their slavery and everything else that made them more barbaric. He's like, I couldn't identify him with them at all. And so the main thrust of my book shifted, whether I wanted it to or not, to what really actually changed the modern world. And he says it's Christianity. Prior to Christianity, the world did not look the way it looks today. Our sense of the dignity of the human person and that even the lowest of us is still has an intrinsic worth based on just being a person made in the image of God. Aside from Judaism in its small little isolated place in Palestine, that didn't exist anywhere else, not until coming of Christ and the dissemination of the gospel. And so he traces on how this happened, the movement of it throughout history. And he's like, hospitals, orphanages, universities, so many of the things,
colonies.
So many things that shape the world today that we just take for granted come from Christianity. And so to imagine that this could have happened as some sort of aimless movement of people without some sort of structure, without some sort of guidance and hierarchy, just seemed absolutely far-fetched.
Yeah.
To think that, 1,500 years later, we have the Protestant Reformation, and then there's a return to authentic Christianity. But 1,500 years, the world had already been revolutionized by Christianity.
Have you heard why Peter Kraft became a Catholic?
So
All right, I want to say thank you to Emmaus Academy. They've put out this brand new digital platform to help you grow in your love of sacred scripture and therefore your love of Christ. If you're like me, you know how tempting it is just to waste so much of your day on YouTube, like maybe you're doing now, or listening to political podcasts and other things. The truth is, we do often have the time to grow in our knowledge and love of Scripture. We just need a helping hand, and that's what this brand new digital learning platform is going to help you do. It has short courses on Scripture that you can take. You can learn from Dr. Scott Hahn, Dr. John Bergsma, Father Boniface Hicks, many more. I've been on this platform. I have a subscription to it, and I mean it when I say it's actually really excellent, and it'll help you love Scripture. I think a lot of us want to love Scripture, but we feel guilty that we don't love it as much as we should. Platforms like this will help you do that. So click the link in the description, stpaulcenter.com/Matt, and sign up. When you sign up, you get 2 weeks free to the entire platform. Think about how many times you and I have subscribed to, say, Hulu or something else, when we could be doing something like this and growing in our love of Scripture. So again, stpaulcenter.com/Matt. Go sign up today. You get 2 weeks for free. If you don't think it's worth it after that time, cancel it. You won't be charged a cent, but I think you'll be really impressed with what you see. Have you heard why Peter Kraft became a Catholic? So he was in university. I believe he was a Calvinist, and someone was up the front talking about the church. And the church he analogized to a great big ship sailing across the waters of time. And over the course of time, this ship attracted to itself many barnacles that began to almost sink the ship. And thank God for Martin Luther and co., who were able to scrape this ship back to its pristine position so it could keep sailing.
Yeah.
And so he went, all right, well then if that's true, like these are all kind of like medieval barnacles, like we shouldn't expect to see them in the first few centuries of the church. And so he went back, read the fathers, and you know the rest of the story.
Right. Yeah. So it seemed so unlikely.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.